Welcome to Fame Flow, where every story reveals a hidden desire, a crossdresser's identity, true emotions. In the shadows of relationships, I wear my sari with silent pride. Behind every smile, I hide a truth the world is not ready to see. This is not just my disguise, it's my real identity, waiting to be embraced. The tall, carved doors of the mansion seemed to whisper the grandeur of an age long past. The moment your hand touched the heavy brass locks, a chill would run down your fingers. Stepping inside, the smooth, cold marble floor seemed to hold your feet in place, as if saying, "Stop here, this is your home." The golden glow of the chandelier above shimmered against the glass panels on the walls, as though millions of tiny suns had been captured within. In the air lingered a mingled fragrance of sandalwood and old perfume, the very scent that defined the identity of a royal mansion. Every corner, every room, every ornament, all of it felt like a dream. But the dream's owner, I was perhaps running away from myself. Outwardly, I was the heir to this grandeur. Yet within, I longed to live in another world. Whenever the light of the chandelier fell upon the mirror, it felt as though it wanted to see me in the form I had always hidden inside my heart, me draped in a silk sari, my eyes adorned with kohl. But in this mansion, in this society, there was no place for my dreams. So I kept wandering silently. Between these marble walls, a prisoner of this golden prison, a velvet cage where everything glittered on the outside, while inside, I was simply waiting to embrace my true form. I was the son of a wealthy family. My name was Arav. Along with that name came the inevitable tag of being the heir to the mansion. I had everything that people spend their entire lives yearning for: expensive cars whose shine dazzled the eyes, servants always waiting for my command, branded clothes brought in from every corner of the world, and the lingering aroma of costly liquor that had seeped into the very walls of the mansion. But amidst all these glittering possessions, there was an emptiness in my life that I could never share with anyone. I did not have manly desires. I tried, many times, to laugh and flirt with girls like my friends did, to meet their eyes with confidence. But whenever a girl looked at me with longing, a strange fear would rise within me, as though her expectations were a burden I could never carry. The truth was, I could never be the man that society wanted me to be. The very thought of living a married life filled me with unease. Yet, there was a deeper truth I had hidden away in the darkest corner of my heart. I always imagined myself in her place, draped in a silky sari, with the gentle shimmer of lipstick on my lips, walking gracefully as my bangles jingled with every step. Perhaps that is why, when people told me, "You just haven't found the right girl yet," I would only smile. Because the truth was, I never wanted to find her. Deep inside, I always longed to be her. My condition was eating mother from the inside, day by day. However strong she tried to appear during the day, she became just as weak in the silence of the night. I could clearly see the fear hidden deep in her eyes. Whenever there was a family gathering, the living room filled with the clinking of teacups, plates of snacks, and bursts of laughter, people would suddenly glance at me in between conversations. The women would whisper with their heads lowered, and the men would make taunts with a faint laugh. "Hey, sister-in-law, now bring a daughter-in-law, your son is getting old. You have such a good home, then why the delay?" Mother would only paste an artificial smile on her face, as if such questions didn't matter. She would softly reply, "I will give you good news soon," and then quickly change the topic. But I knew every such question pricked her heart like a needle. At night, when silence would spread across the mansion, the chandeliers dimmed, and every door was shut, Mother would quietly come and sit outside my room. Sometimes she would run her fingers along the door, sometimes press her ear to it, perhaps wanting to know if I was all right inside. But from within, there was only silence. And in that silence, the sound of her muffled sobs echoed. Sometimes she would wipe her eyes with the edge of her sari, but the tears refused to obey her. Those tears were not just a mother's concern, they were the expression of a deeper pain that her son could not become the man society expected him to be. And she knew there was no easy answer to that question. I had imprisoned myself within the four walls of my room. Neither the windows nor the doors were opened. It no longer mattered to me when the sunlight came and went. The weeks-old beard and mustache on my face had spread like wild bushes, and my hair hung in tangled locks, as if no one had touched it for months. A thin layer of dust had settled over the mirror, and perhaps it was right, because I had stopped looking at my reflection long ago. But amidst this disarray and sorrow, there was a corner within me that had never been extinguished. That corner was my secret. At night, when the rest of the people in the mansion were asleep, I would lie on my bed, close my eyes, and enter a different world. In that world, I was not Arav, the Arav everyone knew. I was a woman, wrapped in a soft silk sari, the edge of whose draped end fluttered gently in the wind. The dangling earrings brushed against my shoulders, and the tinkling of bangles echoed with my every step. I could feel the moist touch of coal on my eyelashes, the shining red tint of lipstick on my lips, and my hair cascading like silk across my shoulders. In that dream, I was no longer hiding in the crowd, I was at the very center of everyone's gaze. People looked at me, but not with mockery. They praised my beauty. Every time, in that dream, I felt whole. As if I truly was what I was born to be. And then, as soon as I opened my eyes, I saw once again the same closed room, the unkempt hair, and the dust-covered mirror, but that dream inside me, that woman, never died. She was only waiting for the right time. Then one day, my mother returned from the city. It was late afternoon, and a soft golden sunlight was spilling across the veranda of the mansion. I was sitting quietly in the corner of my room when I suddenly heard the tinkling of her bangles and the quick, almost eager rhythm of her footsteps. There was no sign of fatigue on her face, rather, a strange glow, like someone who had just stumbled upon a hidden treasure. I had not seen that light in her eyes for months. Arav, today I witnessed something, she said the moment she pushed open the door, her voice carrying a restrained excitement. I looked at her silently, saying nothing. She sat down before me and began to speak slowly. There is a play being performed in the city, very popular. But what I saw today, she paused, studying me carefully, as if weighing every word before letting it touch me. There, a boy was playing the role of the heroine, and son, there was such grace, such beauty in his movements that it became impossible to tell the real from the unreal. A faint smile lingered on her lips, but in her eyes, I could see the outline of a plan. His walk, his speech, the expression in his eyes, everything was exactly like that of a woman. People simply forgot he was a boy. With every word my mother spoke, my heartbeat grew faster. Somewhere deep within, it felt as though a buried dream had just been gently awakened. And one line kept echoing in my ears, it was impossible to tell the real from the unreal. At that moment, I felt, perhaps, my world was about to change. The very next day, a car pulled up at the main gate of the mansion. From it stepped out a tall, slender man, his figure half bathed in sunlight, half cloaked in shadow. His steps were unhurried, yet carried a strange elegance, as though each movement was carefully thought out before being made. He was a boy, And yet, at first glance, there was a distinct softness about him, a feminine poise that was impossible to ignore. His fair, delicate skin seemed to glow faintly in the golden light, like a drop of molten gold melting into milk. His features were so finely shaped, it was as though a sculptor had carved them with painstaking care, deep, luminous eyes framed by long eyelashes, and lips carrying a faint, mysterious smile that never seemed to leave. The moment he stepped into the mansion, his very walk caught my gaze. His footsteps were gentle, yet there was an unseen rhythm within them, like each step was aligned with some invisible music only he could hear. Mother held his hand and called me out of my room. I lingered near the door, my heartbeat quickening. And then, his eyes met mine for the very first time. There was no hesitation in his gaze, only a confident softness, as though he already knew the secrets I had never dared to speak. My throat went dry, and for reasons I could not understand, a strange shyness overtook me. Something within me began to melt, little by little. And in that moment, I knew this person was not just a guest. He had come to change something in my life. Mother had persuaded Arya to stay with me by promising him a huge sum of money. I had thought he would remain only a guest, living in a separate room, in a separate life, without interfering in mine. But Arya was not like that. On the very first day of his arrival at the mansion, he walked straight into my room. His eyes moved slowly across the corners, as though memorizing every detail. Then, without hesitation, he stopped in front of my wardrobe, opened it, and stood silently for a few moments. The very next instant, without a word, he began pulling out all my men's clothes, shirts, trousers, jackets, one after another. There was no haste in his hands, yet every movement carried a firm intention. It did not feel like he was cleaning, but as though he was carrying out a transformation. I stood there, watching him, surprised, nervous. Why are you doing all this? My words trailed off as he turned and looked straight into my eyes. From now on, this is your cage, a velvet cage. His voice was soft, yet it carried a strange power that went straight into me. From the now empty compartment of the wardrobe, he pulled out a large packet and opened it. Inside were silk saris, bangles, lipstick, kohl, earrings, each item neatly arranged. He picked up a deep red silk sari from the pile and tossed it toward me. This is not just fabric, this is you, he said. Your real identity, the one you have kept hidden even from yourself until now. The sari felt soft and warm in my hands, as though it had brushed against all my fears. And in that moment, for the very first time, someone had recognized a part of me that even I had never dared to face. At first, I wanted to pull away. Arya coming so close, his fingers slipping through my hair, his eyes reading me so intently, everything felt new and frightening. Yet there was a strange softness in his touch, and a quiet authority in his command that seemed to bind me. He led me to the bathroom and slowly began pouring lukewarm water over my hair. His hands, lathered with fragrant shampoo, moved gently across my scalp, washing away every bit of heaviness I had been carrying. Within minutes, my hair had become so soft that his fingers slid through them effortlessly, like strands of silk. Then he seated me on a chair and turned the mirror toward me. Opening the makeup kit, he revealed rows of neatly arranged items. First, he smoothed moisturizer onto my face with a light hand, then spread a thin layer of foundation with a brush, giving my skin an even, soft glow. After that, he fixed his gaze on my eyes. These, he said softly, are the most beautiful thing about you, let them speak louder. He traced a fine, precise line of eyeliner above my lashes, then brushed them with mascara, making my eyes appear longer, deeper, every blink carrying an unspoken allure. Next, he lifted a deep red lipstick and pressed it gently against my lips. Its touch was warm, almost as if someone had breathed life into them. The flush of red completed my face. I no longer looked like just Arav, but someone else entirely. Someone new. He placed delicate pearl earrings in my ears, fastened a thin chain around my neck, and finally draped the edge of a silk sari across my shoulders. Then, slowly, he helped me stand before the mirror. Look, his voice was soft, yet carried weight. This is who you really are. I stared into the mirror, and for the first time, I saw the person I had only ever met in my dreams. Those weren't just clothes. They were the key to my prison. They were freedom. They were my true identity. Arya was no longer just my makeup artist or dresser, he had become my guru. He would make me stand in front of the mirror and say, "The beauty of a woman is not only in her face, but in her walk. Learn to speak with your feet." He would watch my every step carefully. Teaching me rhythm, he guided me to walk from heel to toe, keeping a gentle space between my feet. Slowly, as if every step carries a secret, he whispered, and without realizing it, I began to flow in that rhythm. He also changed the way I spoke. "Anaya, the true essence of a woman's voice is that it pulls the listener closer," he would say, teaching me to shape each word slowly, in a soft, soothing tone. At first, even my laughter felt forced, but with every correction from Arya, it began to change, until one day, my laughter was no longer practiced, but natural, coming straight from my heart. Then, one day, he looked at me and said, "You are no longer Arav. From today, your name will be Anaya." At that moment, it felt as though the heaviest knot of my life had finally been untied. Anaya, the name echoed in my ears like a melody. It wasn't just a name, it was a declaration of my identity. Even at home, my mother began calling me Anaya. At first, every time I heard it, a strange hesitation would run through me. But gradually, the name grew so close to my heart that Arav felt like a distant stranger. At night, I would stand alone in my room, clutching the pallu of my sari, gazing into the mirror, whispering to myself, "This is me, the world never allowed me to see." Dark coal lined my eyes, crimson lipstick colored my lips, a fragrant garland of jasmine flowers adorned my hair, and in my heart bloomed an unfamiliar freedom. Now, I was no longer just dressing up, I was adorning not just my body, but my soul. Arya had made me dance to her rhythm, yes, but the truth was, I wanted to lose myself in that dance, because every gesture of hers was carrying me closer to my true self. It no longer mattered to my mother whether a daughter-in-law had truly come into my life or not. For her, it was enough that I was seen smiling, that my eyes sparkled in social gatherings, and that people returned home saying, "Now there is grandeur in the mansion, the daughter-in-law is very beautiful." This illusion itself became a comfort for my mother. Perhaps she knew that none of this was real, but she had convinced herself, if my child is happy, then this is the truth. But the reality was something entirely different. I had become Arya's velvet prisoner, a captive surrounded by golden chains and silken walls. Alia had built a world around me where even freedom meant breathing according to her will. She ruled over my walk, my speech, my clothing, everything. At times, I wondered, am I living in bondage? But then, when I saw my adorned reflection in the mirror, my heart would surrender. If this is a prison, then I wish to remain in it forever. Days passed, and I was completely transformed into Anya. My mother would now breathe with relief upon seeing me, and I too wore the same smile before her, a smile that was no longer forced, for this time it rose from the depths of my soul. Then one evening, a grand party was organized in the mansion. Arya did all her makeup in front of me and transformed into a stunning woman right before my eyes. I happily placed a red vermilion mark, the symbol of a married woman, on her forehead. The entire hall came to a standstill upon seeing Arya. My mother introduced Arya to everyone as her daughter-in-law. Now, there were no questions in people's eyes, only admiration for my daughter-in-law. Seeing my happiness, tears welled up in my mother's eyes too, perhaps tears of pride, perhaps of relief. At that moment, I felt, yes, I was indeed Arya's prisoner, but at the same time, I was also the queen of my own identity. In that velvety captivity, I had found the freedom I had been dreaming of for years. See you soon with a new story.